Testing. And all these things shall be added to you. And I make this declaration over the Dominica Olympic Committee this morning, knowing and recognizing that in my partnership and friendship with the leader of this entity, Mr. Billy Doctorow, he has always put God first for Big Edge, and he has brought that principle into the DOC, and we can see the light of God over the DOC over the few years of his tenure, as we recognize that putting God first will add gold medals, putting God first will add wisdom, putting God first will add good health, putting God first will bring everything into existence. And putting God first is not just a principle. Putting God first is the principle. Putting God first is not just an option. Putting God first is the option. Putting God first is not just an opinion. Putting God first is the opinion. Putting God first is the ultimate. And I'm hoping through this ceremony here this morning, I'm happy that the media is here, that this would resonate through the ears of our people, that today will set an example. Today will set a standard for Dominica, that as we put God first, it will add to the finances of Dominica, it will add to our entities, and Mr. George, it will also add to the success of this country. Let's all stand. Heads bowed, eyes closed. Father, great God, the Almighty One, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, the one who created us, the one who moves and have our being. We, your creatures, call on you today as the Dominica Olympic Committee, who would have come here for their commitment to signal that they are ready to serve our nation in the area of athletics and sports. We pray for everyone gathered here today. And we know and we understand that as we call on you, Father, that your spirit will move into, and we understand that as we call on you, Father, that your spirit will move into this place. And everything that we do here today will be to your name's honor and glory. Touch every heart here this day, and we pray that this proceeding will go well in Christ. We pray, amen and amen. Thank you very much. Be seated.
I would kindly ask that we stand once again, please, for the national anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would like to recognize all who have gathered here to make today's swearing-in ceremony possible. Honorable Senator Oscar George, Minister of State in the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports and Community Development with specific responsibility for youth and sports. Mr. Billy Doctorow, President of the Dominica Olympic Committee. Ms. Fenella Wenham-Shepherd, Secretary General of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and all Dominica Olympic Committee executive members. Mr. Ordain, Acting Sports Coordinator. Ms. Sebastian, Acting Registrar. Affiliated association representatives and commission representatives. The Dominica Olympic Committee staff, special invited guests, media, and all persons listening via Emma News, DBS, GIS, Kyrie FM. Thank you for coming. Before I hand over to Ms. Sebastian, who will be conducting the swearing-in process, I would like to offer apologies on behalf of Ms. Colita Hamilton, for our Assistant Secretary Treasurer, for not being able to be present today. As you may have seen in the news, she recently not only graduated from her Memo Sports Management Masters, but also secured the award for the most outstanding during the 2024-2025 group. So I'd like for us to put our hands together in celebration. Unfortunately, she was delayed on her trip returning, but she offers her apologies. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Ms. Sebastian to come forward as we begin the swearing-in process of the Dominica Olympic Committee Executive Board, who were recently elected and will serve the term 2025 to 2029. We can put our hands together for, please. So as I call the name of the executive member, I kindly ask that they come forward. We'll be beginning with our president, Mr. Billy Doctorow.
I, Billy Doctorow, granted the honor of becoming a member of the Executive Board of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself aware of my responsibility in such capacity, I undertake to serve the Olympic movement to the very best of my ability, to respect and ensure the respect of all the provisions of the Constitution of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Olympic Charter and the decisions of the International Olympic Committee, which I consider as not subject to appeal on my part, to comply with the Code of Ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence and from any racial or religious consideration, to fight against any other form of discrimination, and to promote in any circumstance the interests of the Dominica Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic movement. So help me God.
would now call on Mr. Donnie Robinson, Vice President.
I, Donnie Robinson, granted the honor of becoming a member of the Executive Board of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself aware of my responsibilities in such capacity. I undertake to serve the Olympic movement to the very best of my ability, to respect and ensure the respect of all provisions of the Constitution of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Olympic Charter, and the decisions of International Olympic Committee, which I consider as not subject to appeal on my part, to comply with the Code of Ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence and from any racial or religious consideration, to fight against any other form of discrimination, and to promote in any circumstance the interests of the Dominica Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic movement. So help me God.
I now call on Ms. Fenella Wenham Shepherd, Secretary General.
I, Fenella Wenham Shepherd, granted the honor of becoming a member of the Executive Board of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself, aware of my responsibility in such capacity, I undertake to serve the Olympic movement to the very best of my ability, to respect and ensure the respect of all the provisions of the Constitution of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Olympic Charter, and the decisions of the International Olympic Committee, which I consider as not subject to appeal on my part, to comply with the Code of Ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence and from any racial or religious consideration, to fight against any other form of discrimination, and to promote in any circumstance the interests of the Dominica Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic movement. So help me God.
I now call on Mr. Dexter Dupree, Treasurer.
I, Dexter Dupree, granted the honor of becoming a member of the Executive Board of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself, aware of my responsibilities in such capacity, I undertake to serve the Olympic Committee to the very best of my ability, to respect and to ensure that the respect of all the provisions of the Constitution of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Olympic Charter and the decision of the International Olympic Committee, which I consider as subject to appeal on my part, to complete with the code of ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence, from any racial or religious consideration, to fight against any other form of discrimination, to promote in any circumstance the interests of the Dominican Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic Committee. So help me God.
I now call on Mr. Chester Later, Executive Member.
I, Chester Later, granted the honor of becoming a member of the Executive Board of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself aware of my responsibility in such capacity, I undertake to serve the Olympic movement to the very best of my ability, to respect and ensure respect of all the provisions of the Constitution of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Olympic Charter, and the decisions of the International Olympic Committee, which I consider as not subject to appeal on my part, to comply with the Code of Ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence, and from any racial or religious consideration, to fight against other forms of discrimination, and to promote in any circumstance the interests of the Dominica Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic movement. So help me God.
I now call on Mr. Job Joseph, Executive Member.
I, Job Joseph, granted the honor of becoming a member of the Executive Board of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself aware of the responsibility in such capacity. I undertake to serve the Olympic movement to the very best of my ability, to respect and to ensure the respect of all the provision of the Constitution of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Olympic Charter, and Olympic Charter decisions of the International Olympic Committee, which I consider as not a subject to appeal of my part, to comply with the Code of Ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence, and from racial or religious consideration, to fight against any other form of discrimination, and to promote in any circumstance the interests of the Dominica Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic movement. I thank you, Yahweh.
I now call on Mr. Peter Later, Executive Member.
I, Peter Later, granted the honor of becoming a member of the Executive Board of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself aware of my responsibility in such capacity, I undertake to serve the Olympic movement to the very best of my ability, to respect and ensure the respect, and myself aware of my responsibility in such capacity, I undertake to serve the Olympic movement and ensure the respect of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the decisions of the International Olympic Committee, which I consider as not subject to appeal, on my part, to comply with the Code of Ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence, and from any racial or religious considerations, to fight against any other form of discrimination, to promote in any circumstance the interest of the Dominica Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, the International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic movement. So help me God.
Last but not least, I now call on Mr. Brendan Williams, Athletes Representative.
I, Brendan V.A. Williams, granted the honor of becoming a member of the executive of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and myself aware of my responsibility in such capacity. I undertake to serve the Olympic movement to the very best of my ability, to respect and to ensure the respect of all provisions of the Constitution of the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Olympic Charter and the decisions of the International Olympic Committee, which I consider as not subject to appeal on my part, to comply with the codes of ethics, to keep myself free from any political or commercial influence and from any racial or religious consideration, to fight against any other form of discrimination, and to promote in any circumstance the interests of the Dominica Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee, and those of the Olympic movement. Swear. So help me God.
As I take my leave, I just want to congratulate the newly sworn in members of the Olympic Committee, and I wish you all a very successful term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sebastian, for facilitating this morning's swearing in. So before us, we have the 8 newly sworn in Dominica Olympic Committee executive members for the board. And as I said, Ms. Hamilton will be sworn in as soon as she's able to make it safely back. So I'd like us to all put our hands together. Without further ado, I would like to invite Senator Honorable Oscar George to the podium to give a few remarks.
Good morning to all of you. I want to start by apologizing for my voice. I think I'm being attacked this morning by a flu, so I want to apologize in advance. I want to first recognize the head table, the president of the DOC, and his newly elected executive. I want to acknowledge our sports coordinator, all our affiliated associations, the media, invited guests. Good morning to all of you. Normally, the minister speaks last, but after discussion with the president, we agreed that I should speak before him and allow him the opportunity to score some runs at the end. So we are the non-strikers end today, and of course I'll be very short. But for me, it's both an honor and a pleasure to be here to deliver very brief remarks as we signal the commencement of a new term for the President and the Executive of the Dominica Olympic Committee. As we all know, the Olympic movement across the world stands not only for sport, but for unity, for excellence, and peace. And today, we reaffirm those values by welcoming a new leader and executive to continue. So I congratulate you and the entire past executive for what we consider a successful 4-year term. I personally believe that there were many successes for what we consider a successful 4-year term. I personally believe that there were many success stories during this period. Personal congratulations to you going forward. And I know that there's a popular saying that goes, the reward for good work is more work. And of course, we expect to see more work in this coming 4 years under your leadership. As you move into this new term, I ask the DOC to never lose sight of the power of sport and its ability to bring people together, to be able to make sports into more about administrations and administrators. And I don't think that is the right way to go about it. And I think we should focus more on the athletes, what they need to excel in this competitive environment. So yes, our administrators are important. They play an important role, especially in creating the enabling environment. But most of all our efforts should be placed on our athletes. It should be athlete-driven, representing the interests of our athletes, putting ourselves in their shoes, and most importantly, solving the little problems they may face, which can positively impact their ability to perform. The other important recommendation for the committee, in my respectful view, is to put systems in place to overcome the challenges in sport. I know that the new legislation and policy, which will soon be completed and presented, will help, but I think it goes far beyond just legislation. We have to put some focus on the mindset of our athletes, on the mindset of the athletes. This is very concerning to me, I must say. And I have said many times that in order to excel in sports, you have to be mentally prepared, mentally tough, and maturity is also important. And I believe that under this new leadership, we have an opportunity to try to target that issue, the mindset of our athletes. And one of the things I believe the committee can do, Mr. President, is to start a conversation as part of an athletes forum where we can bring all our young athletes together and just focus on the mental aspect of sports, among other stuff. And I think that is an area we can implement to help us going forward. So while I put on record my high praise for what the committee was able to achieve over the last 4 years, I say to you that the work has just begun. We must prepare for the new sporting revolution coming, and also for the new sports to be introduced to Olympics in the coming years. But rest assured, you have a good partner and supporter in the government of Dominica, and in the new year, we will seek to strengthen our collaboration between the government and the DOC to position Dominica where we all want it to be in sports and youth development. So today, we welcome back Mr. Doktrov and his new executive to continue the good work they have started. Mr. Doktrov has been a long-standing advocate for sports at various levels, and we are all confident that the DOC is in good hands with this gentleman. Together, we will strengthen grassroots development, enhance athlete systems, and ensure our country stands proud on the global stage. So once again, congratulations to all of you, and may this new term be filled with bold vision, collective effort, and inspiring achievements for us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those remarks, Senator Honorable Oscar George. And now, without further ado, I would like to welcome to the podium the newly sworn-in, re-elected President of the Dominica Olympic Committee, Mr. Billy Doktrov, to deliver his feature remarks.
Thank you, Tanya, Chairperson. Minister of State, the Minister of Sports, Mr. Oscar George, Acting Registrar, she took a leave, Ms. Sebastian, Acting Sports Coordinator, Mr. Odin, executive members of the Dominica Olympic Committee, representatives of affiliates, administrative staff, invited guests, media, listeners, and viewers to this function, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say special thanks for Mr. George being here. Because when I listened to the sports news this morning, I heard a certain Oscar George scored 45 runs in a match. Not out. I made some inquiries and I found out it was the minister. So I was really surprised to see him here today after scoring 45 runs. Not out. I thought he would have been probably at the hospital recovering. But Mr. George is generally a very fit young person, young man. So welcome to our function, sir, and thanks for your presence. I might be a bit lengthier than normal, but I have to take this opportunity to address some pertinent matters, so I call on you to be patient and to bear with me. I take Mr. George's words to heart in terms of his congratulatory messages and his recommendations. I think they are in place to improve the Dominica Olympic Committee. So I know, I saw our Secretary General taking notes, so I am sure that she must have been recording what you said. So thanks for your kind words. I take great pride in welcoming everyone to this memorable occasion. We are now legally the executive of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and the hard work for another quadrennium has commenced. I also take time to extend our condolences to two of our members in the persons of Job Joseph and Brendan Williams, who recently both lost very close members of the family. And we pray that the good Lord, or Yahweh, will provide you and your family comfort and strength to deal with this traumatic experience. I consider it an immense honor to lead such a prestigious organization. When I first took up the esteemed position of president of the DOC in May of 2017, little did I realize that I was about to enter such a roller coaster experience. I retired a few years from the umpiring fraternity, so I thought I was to be able to stay more time on my couch. But I was called upon to serve in another capacity, and here I am still as president. It was one of the massive challenges. We had disappointments, elements of great joy, hope, and achievement. And I could add many more superlatives to the list. I quickly realized that we had to undertake a transformative process to win the confidence of the Dominican populace, whom at that time had lost all confidence, respect, and trust of the Dominica Olympic Committee. Up front, I want to take this opportunity to thank the many different persons who have served with me for the past 8 years. Your unwavering support, unquestionable loyalty, and willingness to make the necessary sacrifices, all in the interest of genuine development of sports in Dominica, have been commendable. Now we have a new executive recently elected to serve for the next 4 years, and I expect, and our affiliates demand, nothing less than total and selfless commitment. I take this opportunity to congratulate those persons who were elected to the executive, and would like to remind them we are not here to serve ourselves. Neither are we here to promote the association that some of us are members of, or to boost our own ego. If we have any of these intentions, the door is right there. You can take your immediate leave. This recently concluded election was a very interesting one, very different to the one in 2021. For the very first time in the history of the DOC, a president was elected unopposed to serve a third consecutive term. I felt honored, privileged, and very humbled to have received such a massive show of support from our general membership. Many members had asked me to continue for a third term, as after the last election, I had informed the organization that it would have been my last at the helm. As a matter of fact, out of our 16 affiliates, 15 of them directly approached me over the past 2 years to continue as president. Significantly, one of those 15 was my opponent in the last presidential race. He was now one of my biggest supporters, insisting, Billy, you have to stay on, as I cannot see anyone who can do the job as well as you. Still, I was pleasantly surprised when the same evening nominations closed, I received numerous messages from some affiliates informing me that they had received the final nomination from the election officer and that I was unopposed. It gave me a great deal of satisfaction, pride, but filled with humility. And I know the treasurer and eventually the secretary-treasurer and the assistant secretary-treasurer, who were also elected unopposed, felt the same. And I want to compliment the general membership for expressing their confidence and approval of the work that we had done in such a convincing manner. Let me say, any success that we have achieved, we have done so due to our impressive teamwork, detailed and meticulous planning, and precise execution of our plans and programs. The hard work and sacrifice of our athletes, representing our 16 affiliates, must also be applauded and recognized. The emotions and massive celebration that exploded in Paris last year when Tia won Dominica's first ever Olympic medal, and not just an ordinary medal, it was color gold, reverberated all over the world where Dominicans were located. 2 weeks ago, another of our up-and-coming athletes also won gold at the Junior Pan American Games in Paraguay. And I want to again publicly congratulate Ms. Trennis Hamilton on her golden performance in Paraguay. For those of us who were fortunate enough to have been present at the stadium, it was another of those special moments that dreams are made of. For a country of our size and population, to have won 2 gold medals within 13 months is indeed a remarkable achievement. I want to congratulate you, Mr. George, and your government in a special way for recognizing the efforts and achievements of both Trennis and Stefan Pascal by appointing them as sporting ambassadors. We are confident that their success can act as an inspiration to our young people to take sports much more seriously and to further inspire those 2 young athletes to continue to work hard so that they can fulfill their sporting ambitions. I also want at this time to call on the private sector, as I've done on many occasions, to come on board early and support the programs and events planned by our respective affiliates, and do not wait for success before offering tangible support. Gold medals do not drop from the sky, and it is paramount that the private sector plays a meaningful role in the preparation of those athletes. And although she is not here, she was supposed to have been Miss Cheryl Roll from, oh, she's there? Oh. You know, normally you see Cheryl taking a back seat. But I want to highlight the work that Ms. Roll has done for the benefit of our athletes. And if the rest of the private sector could take a leaf out of a book, we'd be in a much better position. So I really want to thank and congratulate Ms. Roll for her interest in sports. She and I have some serious fights at times. But we both know and we both seriously believe that each of us have the best intentions of the athletes at heart. And I know whenever I call on Ms. Roll, I will get the kind of support that we need from the private sector. So again, Cheryl, thank you very much for your To ensure we can continue our recent successes, we have already started planning for the next Olympic Games and beyond. The DOC had recommended 6 of our top athletes to be recipients of Olympic Solidarity Scholarships, and they have all been approved. And it is with the intention of assisting our athletes in the preparation to qualify for LA 2028. Preparing for an Olympic Games is not an easy venture. Neither it is a cheap venture. So we are happy that we could have got the scholarships for the 6 athletes, and we have had intensive discussions with them. They know our expectations of them, but we know that they will be in a better place, in particular financially, to ensure that they can improve and increase their preparation for LA 28. Track and field stars, Tiela Forgatson, Danik Luke, Trenis Hamilton, Addison James, Carol Etienne, and cyclist Kwa Barron are the athletes. And we also have our swimmer, Jasmine Schofield, on a full swimming scholarship. And I want to thank the Dominica Amateur Swimming Association for the role that they played in obtaining the scholarship for Jasmine. We are quietly confident that we'll have more than one qualified athlete for LA 2028, an achievement that would make each and every one of us extremely proud. Our smallness as a country will in no way determine our successes in the field of sports. We are just asking for additional support from both the public and private sector, and leave the rest to us. The DOC has proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that given adequate resources, we are capable and qualified to successfully manage the sports industry in Dominica. Talking about scholarships, a word of caution to parents and guardians accepting scholarships for their children to study overseas, in particular in the USA. We accept that those organizations and individuals who are offering the scholarships mean well, but you need to pay attention to the fine prints of those contracts. We have found ourselves in the past having to reach out to individual students who are stranded overseas. And our budget from the Olympic Committee does not cater for that. Something that we have to try and get additional funds to do. We have had situations where we have reached out to them. Some of them have been able to stay and complete their course. Some of them had to, unfortunately, come back home. Because, again, as I said, the contracts of those scholarships, you have to read that fine print. So whenever your children, I'm appealing to parents and guardians out there, listening and viewing, if your children have been approached to accept a scholarship. Before jumping, it's a great feeling, and you know that you don't have to pay for your children to go and study, but ensure that that scholarship takes into account the complete scholarship for the child from the commencement till the end. So if you have any concerns, reach out to the Dominica Olympic Committee. We have the expertise and the knowledge here to go through those scholarships, because sometimes we have had to tell those parents, no, that will prove to be problematic to your child. If you have the funds, no problem. But as you know, many of our top-class athletes in Dominica come from very humble beginnings. So just a word of caution, and I know it's an excitable event if you have a scholarship being offered to your child, but just be a bit cautious. But it's not only on the field of sport that we have put the machinery in place to ensure the success of the DOC as a professionally sound institution. Over the past 5 years, we have recommended a member of the executive to participate in the MEMOS program, which is the Executive Masters in Sports Organizations Management course, which Tanya alluded to. All our recommendations have been accepted by Olympic Solidarity. But this year, we stood at the pinnacle of the program. As our participant, Ms. Coletta Hamilton, our Assistant Secretary and President of the Dominican Netball Association, graduated just on Friday last, where she received the prestigious Alberto Mandela Award, which is presented to the student with the best graduate project of the entire class. We want to extend our sincerest congratulations to Coletta, who unfortunately, as Tanya mentioned, is not with us today due to flight difficulties. She was supposed to have arrived yesterday evening, but she got stranded in St. Martin due to some aviation difficulties. We at the DOC are always seeking ways and means to improve the sporting landscape in Dominica, and that was the rationale. We partnered with the government to rehabilitate the tennis court on High Street. This location had become an eyesore, and we believe that something needed to be done to enhance the city and to provide a much-needed tennis facility. We wrote and submitted a project to one of our financiers, Panam Sports, and they immediately approved the project and made available to the DOC US $120,000 for use on the project. From those funds, we were able to demolish the existing dilapidated building, build an almost new pavilion, which included dressing rooms, toilet and bathroom facilities, a picturesque balcony, storeroom, installed new lights and fencing, and also repaired the road leading to the facility. And I want to thank Mr. Barron, who is here, the president of the Dominica Tennis Association, for his tremendous assistance in this area. We have done all we were supposed to do, but unfortunately, the project has come to a frustrating and grinding halt, a matter that the DOC and Panam Sports are very concerned and disturbed about. Recently, at the General Assembly of Panam Sports in Paraguay, we were asked about the delay of works to the project. Basically, it is only the resurfacing of the courts that needs to be completed to enable us to open a tennis court for users. So we are appealing to the relevant authorities to please resume works on the project so that the dream of the Dominica Tennis Association and so many of our local tennis players can become a reality. Mr. George, we would like to call on you to use your office to assist in that area. We at the DOC are extremely satisfied with the manner that we have turned the fortunes around of this organization, not only on the track, but in terms of our governance and financial accountability. We had to make some tough decisions, but I can assure you that each and every decision was a well thought of process, and this has enabled us to be regarded as a beacon in the Olympic world. And that recently caused the Olympic Solidarity to suggest to some of its members that they take a leaf out of the book of the Dominica Olympic Committee as far as forward-thinking management and good governance is concerned. At this time, I didn't want to highlight our achievements. It is well recorded. People know that what we have done. People have been satisfied. Our membership have been satisfied. But one of the issues that I would like to address specifically is a very sensitive national issue. And as the president of the DOC, it will be remiss of me not to let my voice be heard on that matter. I know that in some quarters that I will not be very popular, but I don't seek popularity. I have had my fair share of that in my life. I am referring to the establishment of the much talked about medicinal marijuana industry. Now, I am not a doctor nor a scientist, but what I bring to this discussion is 50 years of life experience dealing with young people, and because of my officiating careers as an international football referee and a test cricket umpire, I have had cause to deal with young people, not necessarily on a daily basis, but very often. And I have done so locally, regionally, and internationally. Let me say I have no reason to doubt that marijuana has medicinal properties and qualities, because I have dealt with people who swear by its use, and my own detailed research has confirmed that. I come waving my red flag. But the red flag I am waving in this case is not for political purposes, because I know the red flag is identified with one of our political parties. But in this case, it's not for political purposes, but to express my concern and to encourage caution with this industry. We in the sporting field deal with lots of young persons, and that is why I'm calling for caution. Some persons would like to convince the rest of us that marijuana has no ill effects on the human body, but this is just a myth. While doing some research in finalizing my remarks yesterday, I came across an article which said that the pros and cons of legal marijuana remain contentious, and the drug can cause mental health problems such as psychosis.
Yes.
There are lots of gray areas as far as marijuana is concerned. And that is why we have to be so careful, especially with the use among our youth. Whenever I talk about this topic, I refer to MAC, M-A-C, marijuana, alcohol, and cocaine. Over the years, I've seen too many cases of promising young persons fall and succumb to the ill effects of MAC, marijuana, alcohol, and cocaine. I recently attended an official symposium held at the conference room of the State House, and I was particularly disturbed and disappointed by some remarks coming from the head table. When I entered that room, I looked around and I questioned how many people present were genuinely concerned with the medicinal marijuana industry, or if many had come to hear that marijuana was about to become much more accessible and available for the recreational needs. And in my own mind, some members of the head table sent out this very message. And I thought, if we are going forward with this industry, a wrong message was being sent out to the audience and to the general public. I know we say that the industry will be closely monitored and supervised, and I agree that it will be the case. But how effectively can we carry out? And I agree that it will be the case. But how effectively can we carry out this process? Monitor and account for every leaf of marijuana produced? Can we say all of what we produce will be channeled to the medicinal industry? Now, because of this new industry, we have to select individual farmers or growers to grow marijuana in Dominica, because it is said we have some very good soil here, and we can grow a good kind of marijuana. So we have to give persons license to grow the crop, and those persons will be involved in the production, packaging, marketing, distribution, whatever it is. So there's going to be a large increase in local production in marijuana. And I am convinced that because of that increased production, some of it will spill over and enter the general market. I don't think we can ensure that every plant produced under that industry will go and reach the medicinal industry. So we have to be extremely careful. An increase in production means automatically more of the product will become available to the general public, inclusive of our young people. Lastly, will become a problem. People will go and steal the marijuana that has been planted. And we know when people start stealing from farmers' products, what can happen. And we don't have to be a rocket scientist to see the ills and the pitfalls in that industry. An increase in production means it becomes more likely that some will leak from the medical machinery and find its way on the streets, where our young people become vulnerable. It is the effect on our young people that I am particularly concerned, that I wave my red flag of caution. I have personally experienced the negative effects that MAC can have on our youth. And as the youth is principally our main target group of sporting talent, this is a major area of concern to me. And I have seen many a promising sporting career and generally lives destroyed by the ill effects of MAC. I don't want to boast, because it's not something to be boasting about. But over my career, because of my close contact with young persons, especially those involved in sports, I've been called to visit homes and to counsel young persons who have succumbed to the effects of MAC. I've been called by parents, grandparents, uncles, brothers, or siblings, friends, neighbors to go to different homes. And as I said earlier, most of our sporting talent come from very humble neighborhoods. And when you go to those homes, it is some of the most depressing feelings someone can get when you see a young person, a young man, young woman, but mostly men, a young man with talent, and especially if you know that that person has talent. In my case, I've seen some of them playing football and cricket, and I know the talent that they have, but they have gone down that road, and you can see the pain experienced by the family. And you know, surprisingly, the people who feel that pain the most are grandparents. I think grandparents have a special kind of empathy, kind of relationship with their grandchildren. And when they see their grandchildren in that situation, it can be very depressing and distressing. I am asking for caution and patience with this new industry. I don't know if any of us here have visited homes at the request of family members to give them advice and support to deal with the situation. But as I said, it's one of the most heartbreaking and distressing experiences. The bigger and more developed countries that have gone down this road and established such an industry have the financial, structural, physical, and human resources to deal instantly when a young person has fallen in this trap. They have rehab centers. We don't have it here. If a young person falls and succumbs to that here, if their parents or their family do not have money to send them overseas to rehab, you find another life, another young life is wasted. Another young life going down the drain. It is said the marijuana industry is $1 million industry. So we need to jump on board to benefit. It will create jobs and generate revenue, but at what cost? Our young people, in particular, our young, talented sportsmen and women. I have lots of friends who smoke marijuana. I have no issue with smoking marijuana. What I'm particularly concerned about is the effect on our target group, on our young sportsmen and women out there. That's what I'm particularly concerned about. We might create 20, 50, 100 jobs, generate $1, $2 or $10 million, and in the process, destroy many young lives. Is it worth it? A friend of mine who partakes fully in the consumption of marijuana told me, Billy, stop stressing over that matter. You don't have children in it, so you have nothing to worry about. So that would be a very selfish and blinkered view to take. And I love our young people. I love them too much to turn a blind eye. And I love our young people. I love them too much to turn a blind eye. My own children involved. Because nothing gives me more pleasure when I see a young person overcome adversity and become successful in their chosen field. And that is why in my own family business, Big Edge, we invest so heavily in the future of our young people. I could not take an opportunity to get some free advertisement. I will continue to wave my red flag of caution. There's a committee set up to organize this industry, and not one member of this committee comes from the sporting fraternity. Not one. It is the young people that are going to be exposed to this increase in marijuana circulating in our country. To those persons who say marijuana has no ill effects on young persons, I want to relate an event, an incident. In 1990, I go back a long way, 1990, I was selected to be manager of the Dominica inter-school team. And Mr. Ozzy Savre right here was the sports coordinator. And the day before we left Gold St. Vincent, the ministry had a meeting with the team, and the minister, the chief education officer, PS, Savre, and I, everybody was there, and we had to give few remarks. And as manager, I had to give my remarks. And at that time, I was not an international official yet, but I was a regional one, going through the islands, the regional islands a lot. And I said in my remarks, because I knew some of the guys, they were playing football at the time. They were active football. I told them, let me tell you, I know you all, some of you all smoke. We go to St. Vincent. St. Vincent have a very potent marijuana. Very potent. A lot of people, when they talk about marijuana, talk about Jamaica, but St. Vincent is a very potent marijuana. And I told the guys, we're not going there for that. We're going to try and win, play our sports, and come back home. Next day, we left. We arrived at about 2 o'clock. And about 3:34, we settled in the school that we were staying at. In those days, we were staying at a school. In the school, you have your little cot, you have your little mattress on the floor, so on. Now I understand that they stay in hotels. No problem with that. But at that time, it was at the school. And we had planned a meeting for 7 o'clock that night, because the tournament was starting the very next day. And when we gathered for the meeting, we were missing 4 persons. 4 guys were not present. We looked around. In those days, we didn't have cell phones to call. We looked around, tried to find them, nowhere. And then we started the meeting. About 15 minutes into the meeting, the security guard downstairs of the school came up to our meeting and said, "Is there Mr. Doctrove?" I said, "Yes." He told me, "A police is downstairs asking for you." I said, "Police?" So I went downstairs, and the police told me that the inspector in the police headquarters wanted me to come down. So I said, "What happened?" He told me he's not sure, but the inspector wanted me to come down. So right away I realized something was up. I was about to leave, but I said, "Let me bring somebody with me." So I went back up, and I asked Mr. Emmanuel Loblack, was the athletics coach, to accompany me, and I asked Mr. Geoff Fostin, who was the football coach, to continue chairing the meeting. And I went to the police, accompanied by the police station, accompanied by the police, with Mr. Loblack. But it so happened the inspector who was there was a football referee, and we had just refereed a tournament a couple of weeks ago in Trinidad. So he told me when he got to find out that I was the manager, so he said he was going to call me. So I said, "What's happening?" and so on. We greeted each other. So I told him, "So what's going on?" He told me, "Come, And he brought Mr. Loblack and myself in a room. I can never forget that. And out of the 4 guys we were missing, well, all 4 were there. One was normal, natural. I can call his name Wayne George. He's a football coach. He has his own academy. He was normal. But the 3 other guys, you know what we call in local parlance a bebe? That's how they were. That's how they were. They couldn't even say their name. They couldn't stand up. So I asked the officer, what's happened? I asked Wayne. Wayne told me the guys said that they wanted to smoke the thing. And Wayne told them, but remember what Mr. Doctor said? Yes, just yesterday. So I said the word, Mr. Doctor. But the thing is, it was heartbreaking to see the state of the guys. And the same evening, I made contact with Mr. Savre. I explained the situation to him, and I told him that I would want those guys replaced on the team. Immediately, from next day, we started to make arrangements to get them back home. I was so disappointed in those guys. And those are 2 of our top footballers and our top basketballer. And those guys did that. Now, somebody told me, oh, probably marijuana was mixed. It was mixed with something. I said, well, that's the problem. You never know what you're getting in that situation. That's why you have to be extremely cautious with that. Because when the government took the decision a few years ago to decriminalize a certain amount of marijuana, I think they were like 5 ounces or whatever it is, and you could have free plants. I was one of the few persons who made a public statement questioning the wisdom of that move. Again, it was my concern about the ill effects on our young sportsmen and women and on wider society. We can see what is happening now in our country.
Oh, yes.
You can see what is happening now. Everybody can have 5 grams or 10 grams. I can have my 10 grams today, use it today. Get a new set tomorrow, use it tomorrow. Next day, have another set. And I can have my free plans. A guy recently told me, I was talking to him about it, and he told me he has 21 plants in his yard. I said, 21, but I thought he could only have 3. He told me he have 3 per person in his family. So I told him, how old is he? Is the youngest one? To me, 2 years. So I said, you have 3 marijuana plants for a 2-year-old child. People can always, I don't think that's the intention of the law, but people can always try to manipulate those things. And when we have the increased use of drugs, of MAC, as I call it, then what goes hand in hand with those things? Violent crimes. As we see now, in our situation. We have a situation there now. You go to a public function and you don't know where to stand. Everywhere you're bombarded with smoke. You're bombarded. I will continue to wave my red flag of caution. Let us not rush headfirst into this industry, as it has many pitfalls and could cause serious and irreparable damage to the tranquil nature of life in Dominica, as we are all used to. And no amount of jobs created and revenue earned will be worth it. I rest my case. I am confident that my words will reach the proper authorities, and they take time. Do not rush. The bigger countries have much more resources to deal with the situations. Let us not follow them blindly. I want at this time to say heartfelt thanks to our administrative staff. Without their wholehearted efforts, our work would be in vain. They are the ones most responsible for the well-oiled machine we can proudly say is a DOC. So brothers and sisters, as the DOC continues on our journey to assist our affiliates in the quest to further develop sports, we give our solemn promise to give of our best. The journey we have come to realize is not going to be easy, and we cannot do it alone. I want to place on record the tremendous contribution by the government of Dominica to our efforts. You have come to our assistance on numerous occasions, and without your support, the success and gains that we have achieved would not have been possible. Long may your support continue and increase, Mr. George. We want the support to increase. That is one area that I will never ever be satisfied with. I always want more. So the private sector will continue to approach you so that you too can come on board to offer your assistance. Try not to wait and only respond when someone has gained success. Try to ensure that the landscape and environment is created which will facilitate further success. We are here to serve, and we look forward to the total support of every Dominican, both residing in Dominica and overseas. Thanks much for your support, and may God continue to protect and shower his blessings on our sportsmen and women in this country, of every affiliate of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and on our beautiful country. I thank you.
At this time, thank you, Mr. Doctorow, for those remarks. I know you gave everyone a lot to think about. And so for that reason, I would like to now open the floor. If anyone would like to give some remarks or have any questions that they would like the newly sworn-in executive to answer.
Morning, everyone. Morning, Mr. President. I must say that I'm quite comfortable in this new Olympic building, so much respect to you. I remember going in the other building and I had to wave amongst boxes, other boxes, and trying to find my way inside of the former Olympic house. So, enough respect. I just have a few notes. I mean, the track facility. I remember going to Martinique, and just at the back of my sister-in-law house, there was a little track. It was like a 100-meter track, just there in the middle of nowhere, but some athletes were training. And I'm saying that, I'm asking, I know we want a big track and established track setup, but I was thinking, right, even if we do it in Portsmouth by where you point wrong, my thoughts, and just bear with me, an athlete coming from Soufriere, what is the possibility that an athlete will be able to train all the way in Portsmouth? So I was thinking if we could do small tracks, like maybe two little tracks closer, like one in Roseau, one in Portsmouth, because Portsmouth have some strong athletes. if we could have 2 small tracks until we get the bigger one, right? So that's because, for example, even when I look at Lidlow Park, if we could take all the concrete they put there and put a little track, a little 200-meter track, you know, the journey begins with the first step. The other thing I wanted to bring to the fore is that we are an island surrounded with water and with water inside and out of our island. And I think we could look at doing a small swimming pool facility. When they were building the grammar school, that area I thought of because I said the students could train right there so that we can have some more swimming athletes. If Grenada can do it, right, can't we? So that's what I wanted us to look at for swimming. And then, just for the record, I'm on the board of the Cannabis Committee. I'm a member. And we are going to highlight some of the things you said today and to involve sports. But the objective is not for us to see what I'm seeing on the island right now, even before the factories have set up, which is a split in every biker's mouth and on their bikes. That is not the objective. The objective is to have it as a manufacturer, have 2 manufacturing plants that I would like to see, one in Portsmouth, one in Roseau, and that you can manufacture oils and creams for export. Because if you go to Walmart, Mr. Doctor, you will see there's an entire line, an entire aisle with cannabis products, and that is the objective, not for them to be able to have us spliffing them off. Because the reality is, in the 70s when I was in high school and 80s, people were smoking weed already. So if they want to smoke it, you know, it's difficult to stop them, but we have to push sports more, our minister, and kudos to you for your help, and let us continue to educate Mr. Doctor. I would like to see you and your committee members go to every high school and every primary school to present yourself and to speak to them, because we need to start from young. And yes, our grandparents support us, but a lot of the times the parents leave home and the grandparents mind the children. And when your grandson comes with his eyes red at age 15, you can't see well, so you don't even see his eyes already. So, and one more thing, I would like to see the Dominicans that are posting things on Facebook and Instagram that are overseas. Let them support the youth a lot more. There are things that can be done, and I would like the Olympic Committee to maybe set up out of island, out of country system or committee in place that athletes, retired athletes, athletes that have excelled in their sports and now have good jobs because of the universities they attended and stuff. Let them also play an active part in nurturing and being in touch with the Olympic Committee and being able to give forward, because I don't believe in giving back. Thank you.
Good morning to the authorities and government representatives, and of course the newly sworn executive. My name is Ronald Charles from the Dominica Cycling Association. Mr. Doctor, let me first and foremost thank you for the work that you've been doing. I mean, sometimes, you know, it is, we tend to give people the praises normally when an ambulance has to take them to their homes. And sometimes it's better to do it when somebody is able to hear and comprehend what one is saying. So congratulations to you, and continue to do the work that you do. And, of course, I know Mr. Donnie here is a great sportsman as it relates to basketball and so forth. And I know that his presence on the executive will again put some new dimension to it. So again, Donnie, I'll be looking at you closely. You know? Now, listen, Mr. Doctor, you made mention of the marijuana issue. I believe it is very debatable. I believe one has to look at it, you know, in many angles. Especially, you know, one cannot erase the benefits of it in terms of medical benefits. However, I strongly agree with Ms. Rule. I believe there is a conservative effort that has to be made in educating our young people as it relates to this movement, because it may just be inevitable, but at the end of the day, I think if you're going to send me to represent Dominica in cycling for the masters category 70 and over. And you said that I must not smoke in order that I make the team. I think I will go with not smoking. So I think a lot of education would have to be done, and I believe the people will take it on board and move forward. But an important aspect of it is WADA. WADA is the World Anti-Doping Authorities, and they, in competition, it is not allowed. So, all athletes have to be very careful. I just believe moving forward and having here so much wonderful sentiments today, I believe one of the important areas that we need to touch on is the policy surrounding sports, especially as it relates to government policies. I think that is fundamental. I've worked with Mr. George, and I'm encouraged by the work that he do. Sometimes his hands are extremely tight, but I understand that, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of work to do. But let me just say that the policy surrounding sports needs to get a step up. I strongly, strongly believe that we should not waste any more time with TLR4 in terms of being an ambassador in Dominica, on land, and physically visiting the schools and starting to build a career around triple jump, like the Jamaicans have done with the running. I believe if we take it from there, we have a world champion, and we take it from there and we put some serious effort in it, we will see an overturn of this economy. Every single community will have a little TLR. I can imagine what it would be to have all Dominicans going for gold against each other. You can't, that would be solid. And I believe a coaching and experience need to be. So definitely, what Mr. Roll Joseph enlightened us about is little, we don't have to go big. Sometimes it can be small. When TLR4 won, we didn't have one. Now she is the world champion, we can have half one. So I believe that, sometimes yes, it is important to do it in a big scale, but sometimes the little things matter. And of course, all in all, I just want to say that also volunteers in the sporting discipline also need to get a little support. Because a lot of times you find yourself engaged in these voluntary organizations and you don't get the necessary support that you need. And I'm just not talking about just financial and so forth. You have all kind of support that you need, and sometimes you have to think of the young people when you get involved in organizations, because it's really they're the ones that will really try to put, a better foot forward. So I really want to see the strengthening of the organization. And Mr. Doctor, I know that your constitution is coming out very soon, but I want the DOC to really start putting a lot of training for us in these voluntary organizations. The function of the president, the function of the vice president. What do you do? Because sometimes you find these organizations, sometimes are almost skeleton, running on a skeleton scale, and that cannot continue in order that we can reach the big goals. I'm sure TLR4 will endorse that. Now, all in all, we have made also a lot of promises to our young people, and sometimes we fall short of it. And I know there's much more we can do, and we will be doing more. I believe Dominica has now not only set the stage for the best place to live and enjoy life, but one would see that we're going to be the sporting capital of the world. We're going to make champions. But to do this, government intervention and all sporting disciplines must collaborate. And we must bring all the forces together to do so. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I will be long. First of all, I want to just congratulate the executive and Mr. Doctor and his team. I'm sure that everyone knows that you have sports at heart, and you have been doing a pretty good job. And I just wish you the best. Of course, Ms. Rowe took something from my say. I was going to ask the Minister specifically to give an update on the synthetic track. Because I went to Portsmouth last week, I saw some places being cleared, but it would appear like it has stopped. So I'm not sure if you want to give us an update. In addition to that, maybe you can tell us about the lighting at the Windsor Park. I heard some comment last week someplace that it has been stopped. I don't know. So you in the engineer, you can tell us. I agree with the sentiments of Mr. Doctor on the whole marijuana situation. I'm not an expert in that, but from my 40 years as a police officer, and seeing what is happening, in boxing they say it's better to stop 1,000 fights too early than to stop one too late. So I really hope something is done in that kind of thing. I mean, yes, the industry can go with medical things, but I was the shortest manager 20-something years ago for the Dominica Football Association. I came on board as the manager, and then I saw a lot of things. The same drug business, I spoke about it, and the next day, I didn't even throw the towel in. They actually tell me, well, they're going too far. So yeah, I want to just wish you the best. I'm very happy, functions like that, when you have the minister that were represented, and you have people of August body coming to this sort of, these activities. So once again, sir, give us a little update. I know you're trying your best for what you say. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you. That's the question.
All right, thank you very much for the question. On the track, yes, you're correct. There was some clearing done at Port Rung. I know everybody should know that Port Rung has been identified as a site for the track. The next step is to engage consultancy firm. So that firm is going to be working on our behalf, liaising with World Athletics. So World Athletics, just to be transparent, World Athletics will be supporting the installation of the track at Port Rung. And I want to commend the official, Mr. Brendan Williams. We made the application to World Athletics in 2022 to partner with us to develop a track. We have been successful along with 9 other countries, so they'll be supporting the construction of tracks in 10 countries globally, and Dominica will be one of those. And our responsibility from the government standpoint is to identify land, which we have done. And then we will go a step further in engaging a proper firm, engineering firm, that we will give the site over. They will go in there for the assessment in terms of line of the track, the surveys, the estimates, which they can present to World Athletics, and they will take it from here. So we clearly saw at the site, that was just to facilitate some initial assessments by this firm and these technical people in the Ministry of Housing and Lands, etc. Brendan, as we know, is traveling to the World Games, I think, today. We expect that at that Games, the formal announcement will be made by World Athletics on their support to Dominica. And in the background, we're progressing with identifying the contractor to give the site. So I think, all in all, we should be okay where we are on the track. We just have to wait and see and get the timelines from World Athletics when they're going to come to Dominica to progress this track. But I take the point Cheryl made, and I think it was endorsed by the President of Cycling, that yes, you want a big track, but a small track or 2 small tracks, one enough, one soft, can help. So it's something that we can take on board and discuss it further in the government system. As it relates to the lights at the Winter Park, as you know, the foundation works is basically complete. What we're waiting on now is the arrival of the anchor poles for the base of the poles and the actual poles. They have been paid for, they have been ordered, so we're just waiting on them to come to arrive in Dominica to advance that project. So I think we're okay in the lighting aspect of it. We fell a bit behind because of shipping and stuff like that, but the project is still ongoing as we speak.
Yes, let me congratulate Mr. Dr. and his Esther Charles, and congratulate Mr. Dr. and his team. As I said the last time when you were sworn in at the President's building, I said that this is a team of heavyweights. And yet again I see a formidable team around you, Mr. Dr. You are surrounded with some men of wisdom, men of experience, men and women of experience, and I have the confidence with God you all can go places as you will continue to with God first. There appears to be, Mr. Doctor, a disconnect in terms of the relationship with the governing authorities of sports and the governing authorities of playing fields. I go around the island as a sports ambassador, sports administrator, sports organizer, also cricket. And there is a lack of components to benefit athletes. Clearly, the capacity in those authorities of field is lacking. What is in place, what is put in place to have a more dynamic, vibrant relationship with those governing authorities of playing field to assist them in when they, managing this playing field, that there is an ambience, that there is a plan in place that when you come there, you can probably see something for somebody to go into long jump practice, or triple jump practice, something that will assist. Because when you go around Dominica, you don't see those things on playing fields, and I believe as a result of this apparent disconnect between the governing authorities of sports and the governing authorities of those playing fields.
Yeah, all right, thank you for your question. I wanted to make an additional comment on the previous question. I'll let you just address them. One of the things I've been discussing with some associations is the need to reach out to the international bodies for support in terms of facilities. In the case of athletics, they have done that. That's why we proceeded in the track. I have discussed it with swimming. I think there's a program we call Foods for All. And I think we should at least send an application for that. I think we can benefit from that. And again, the government will be responsible for identifying the land area. And the international body will propose and supply the pools. And I think that's all the associations should look forward to. Because all international bodies normally have a program where they can provide grants and support to facilities. So I think we should take that on board, Mr. Doctor, to ensure that all our associations can make an application to the international partners for support, and then the government can always come in and support where applicable. Heston, your question, I think you're correct. There's a mismatch between the ownership and maintenance and management of the playing fields. Most times we leave the maintenance of the playing fields to a village council. And even in some cases, we have what we call the NEP sometimes that have to go and clean the playing fields. And I think that the OC, the sports division, the associations, I think they have a part to play in managing these playing fields. And I think that's the point I think you get into, and it's something that I think the OC can maybe put in the plan going forward, how we can have greater control and oversight of our community playing fields. But if really up to the village council, we will not get what we want to get. So it's a point we're taking. Thank you.
Let me just say that the Dominica Olympic Committee doesn't have any authority over any of the playing fields. So, as Mr. George was saying, that it's something that needs to be looked at. Sometimes you identify a playing field and you believe that some work will be done there, but because you don't have that specific authority to go in there and get it done, you have to go through a lot of red tape. But so it can be frustrating at times, but we, the Olympic Committee, do not have any specific authority over playing fields in Dominica.
Just a follow-up question, Mr. George. One of the reasons why I asked that question is Mr. Dr. Fumo, many persons living around the good area will know that Victor Park has been an area, playing field that would accommodate softball cricket. And as a softball administrator, Mr. George, I did, you're privy to my concern, and that is we have been given notice. Softball have been given notice that we cannot play softball anymore. I believe probably that what would grieve my fellow friend Connie Lugie was of course him grieved so much, and hence he has gone to the great beyond. Because when I told him that we have been given notice that we cannot play, and that is, we have been given notice by the governing authority of the playing field that we cannot play softball, competitive softball at the Liverpool Park anymore. So we are in a forum where you are there, and I'm hoping that some corrective measures and mitigating measures can be put in place so that softball can be returned at the Liverpool Park.
On what basis you can play softball? I assume you're speaking about the management committee of the playing field, right?
Yes.
What was the basis? On what basis you can?
Well, there are two persons, I don't want to call their name. Some persons may know them. They claim that Lingo Park is not a field for softball. They say Lingo Park is a football field. They serve on the committee. Also, they indicate to me that if we cut in the grass, because we're going to cut the grass to create a playing area, you know, the square, your cricketer, you must have a square, you know, for the playing area. They said that that affects the football, but that is not, I mean, that's what I've never heard of using an area for cricket affecting football. But clearly, the person.
Let us do an engagement.
Yes.
After this, I think something that will have to engage the committee and the Ministry of Sports.
Yes. Thank you.
Good morning. Let me first congratulate the newly elected executive of the Dominica Committee, especially Mr. Dominica of the Dominica Committee, especially Mr. Dominica, on the record. In 2017, when I, with a group of members of different athletes, decided that we would go deep into the Olympic Committee, and we wanted someone to lead the Olympic Committee as president. I saw the light in Mr. Doctrine. Honestly, for the first 4 years, I was somehow disappointed. I returned back from England and I told him that I was disappointed. Things I was expecting from him did not materialize. Mr. Doctor and I, we've been buddies for many, many years. He's captained in cricket for Saints, football. I've been a stalwart member for Saints, both football and cricket. Mr. Doctor, you and I have had our loggerheads, but I must admit that you've been doing a brilliant job as president of the Dominica. I remember that same year when I led a group, and I would say to dismantle the Dominica Olympic Committee that was led by Mr. Wilson. I got a group together. I remember approaching firstly Mr. Ronald Charles.
Not to dismantle, right?
Not to dismantle. No. We already had a winning team. And I agreed not to dismantle. We already had a winning team. We already had a winning team. And I approached Mr. Ronald Charles to be the president. And I was disappointed that
he declined. Then I had no other choice to approach Mr. Billy Doctor, who also was not too up for it because he said that he was stopped the year before and he did not want to go into it. And I said, Mr. Billy Doctor, you have a winning team. You just need to go in there and prove yourself that you can be the president because you're most balanced. You have no strings attached to any affiliates. And that's one of the reasons why I came to Mr. Billy Doctor, because I felt he was a balanced president. Now, on that part, I will go to another part. Someone did mention about time leaving one place to go to Portsmouth, and we find that's a lot of time. I coached in England, I studied in England, I live in England. I know there are people who go to do table tennis and will take 2 hours on the train to come to a club to play table tennis for 1 hour, train for 1 hour, and go back with another 2 hours. Dominica, you can reach any point in Dominica if you really want to play your sport in 45 minutes. Okay. Number 2, another point is, I remember when I came from Hungary, I was a recipient of a scholarship. When I came from Hungary, I don't know whether Mr. Officer remember that. I sat with him and I said to him, we need to specialize our coaches at the sports division. It's not nice that you have someone who is a football coach going to do basketball or netball. It's going to cost us more, but we're going to get better results if our coaches are specialized. You take Mr. Sebastian, who is a football cricket coach, you give him his team and you ask him to go out there and produce cricketers. Football does the same. When you take a coach that plays football, his love and passion is football, and you send him to do netball and send him to do other sports, it's been compromised. Now, I am a table tennis player, and I must say with my president of table tennis show, I gave Mr. Peter later, I'm a little disappointed. I've said to you before, and I'll say it again, where table tennis is in Dominica, it used to be the eye of the OECS in table tennis. Winning OECS championship, top 16, and nothing is happening in table tennis. We will hear of something that's popping up after months, and after that, nothing is being done. In St. Lucia, the Olympic Committee actually, through a program from the Dominican Central Table Tennis Association, they have a coach that take care of table tennis on the island. St. Vincent has the same thing. They have coaches from a program from the Olympic Committee that take care of table tennis on the island. Grenada, the same. And what you see results. In Dominica, we don't have that. I'm a table tennis coach. And nothing, I have asked, I have spoken to them about getting me involved, and nobody's giving me a listen there. So I would like Mr. George and the President of the Olympic Committee to look into those things where our athletes can benefit through coaches that are just there sitting on the benefit.
Before the microphone is passed across to Ms. Rowe, just to clarify with the floor, this will be the last comment for this segment. We know the media have taken a lot of time this morning to attend, so Ms. Rowe will close the question and answer so we can close up today's proceeding.
Okay, I just have 3 things to say. As far as coaching, I think Mr. Berridge is right. And one of the things I said we can look at We recruit doctors, we recruit health personnel from Cuba and other places. We need to look at recruiting coaches from those other territories and to train the locals in coaching. I think we need that. We need more coaches, and we need coaches that are not inappropriate and getting another good on that road. Where you have inappropriate behavior to the athletes and sometimes even getting the athletes pregnant and all of that. I think those are things to address. This is very serious. I donated a table tennis board and balls to St. Mary's Academy. Mr. Berridge, are you aware of that? So you can start by training SMA people because I donated a whole table tennis board to them out of my own little pocket. Thanks to Big Edge. The swimming as well, you can have coaches because I found out that Grenada had some coaches from Cuba training the swimmers in Grenada. So we need to look at that. We need policies on sports. As you said, that they take 2 hours to get to a certain place in England. But if you look at the athletes, I would safely say at least 70% of the athletes come from challenged homes. They come from challenged homes and they have nothing. They haven't got the support financially, emotionally, and all the rest of it. Mr. Robinson, I want to address one last thing. I'm trying to find out from the Minister of Sports and Mr. Robinson, where does netball take you? Personally, do they offer netball scholarships to students? Because at the end of the day, you can only play sports for so long. And you need to get educated. And I'm a firm believer in education and scholarships. As Mr. Doctor said, we need to liaise with the Olympic Committee and stuff when scholarships are being offered. But there are scholarships for sure in track and some of those other sports. I have never heard of anybody getting a netball scholarship to go and study. So I go back to you, Mr. Robinson. Where is the women basketball? Where basketball scholarship, if you have a good athlete that plays basketball in Dominica, I can guarantee you Mr. Robinson can find a scholarship in Florida or somewhere else. So we need to look at the reality of life. And instead of netball, switch to basketball and let them get scholarships to go and study. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roll, and thank you for the floor and the comments. I know they are well received and will be reviewed accordingly by the relevant persons. At this time, I would now like to invite Ms. Grace Fenello Wenham Shepherd, Secretary General of the Dominica Olympic Committee, to the podium to deliver the vote of thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. On behalf of the Dominica Olympic Committee, it is my distinct honor to extend gratitude on this memorable occasion of our swearing-in ceremony. First, I give thanks to Almighty God for granting us the strength, unity, and vision to serve our beloved nation through sport. To our esteemed guests, Honorable Oscar George, representatives of National Sporting Associations, partners and well-wishers, we are deeply grateful for your presence here today. Your support reminds us that the work of the Olympic Committee extends beyond administration. It is about building a culture of excellence, discipline, and pride for Dominica. A special word of appreciation must go out to those who presided over today's ceremony. Your guidance and encouragement inspire us as we take on the responsibility entrusted to us. To the outgoing executive members and those who have served before us, we say thank you for laying the foundation upon which we now stand. Your sacrifices and commitment to the Olympic movement in Dominica will never be forgotten. To the media, thank you for capturing and sharing this historic moment with the wider public, ensuring that our message of unity and development through sport reaches every home. Finally, to my fellow members of the newly sworn-in executive, today is not merely a formality. It is a call to serve, a call to service. I thank you for your willingness to serve, for your dedication, and for the teamwork that will be required of us as we move forward together. In closing, let me once again express our sincere gratitude to everyone who have contributed to making today a success. May we continue to work hand in hand to uplift Dominican sport, empower our athletes, and carry our flag with honor on the regional and international stage. We are on for the gold standard. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, and this brings to the end of the swearing-in ceremony of the Dominica Olympic Committee Executive Board serving the period 2025 to 2029. We would like to thank everyone that came, everyone that listened or viewed us online, and now we'll ask you to join us with a few refreshments as we celebrate this important occasion. Thank you and goodbye.